Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday at 9:30, which means it is the Kinky Hour. I am Shanae Jones, and Kinky, K-N-K-Y, stands for Know the New Kinky You. And kinky is not intended to be a term that is used to describe de- some type of demeaning or uh, demonstrative type of way out there thing. No, kinky is intended to say, I am a sexual being, I am a sexual person, and there are things that I am interested in and possibly things that I would like to explore even more. So, how do I open myself up and make myself available to the types of pleasures that are available to us? And, one of the things that I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about is that, as a person. We are, especially Black people, and this is primarily where I'm coming from as a Black woman, 40-year-old Black woman. Happy birthday to me a couple weeks ago. You know, I didn't grow up in a community where talking about sex was a permissible and viable thing. It just wasn't. There were people in pockets who would talk. You grew up with your friends and y'all would whisper and talk. And even in adulthood, we can get together as a group of friends in our community and talk about sex and in a lot of ways be open. Some of us can, and a lot of people still can. But when it comes to having dialogues and sharing information and having this communication as a community, it doesn't happen on a widespread uh, message as other ethnicities. And I think that it's a lost to our culture not to be able to openly express the things that make us special, that make our love unique, that makes our sex the most amazing sex that it can be. So we just don't get visibility into that. And my hope is through these particular videos and sessions, especially starting to work as a professional coach, that you all deem these conversations as beneficial and that you look at it just as going to see any other professional coach, whether it's a life coach, a wellness coach, a health coach, a financial coach. These are all people that have been trained and suited to help you make better decisions and path out ways for you to improve your life in those specific ways. And a sex coach works the exact same way. In fact, I take the position that my job is a lot more beneficial than a lot of those other ones because, you can have all the money in the world, you can have all of your fitness worked out, but if you're not having good sex, all of that kind of like just wanes. So be prepared to have some good sex. And if you're having any issues with that, then you come see a professional coach like me. All of my information is on the web pages and the websites, and feel free to DM me for any specific questions or concerns. Now, moving into the topic of tonight, which is the 5 love languages. And this was a book. Actually, the title of the book is The 5 Love Languages, How to Express Heartfelt Commitment to Your Mate by Dr. Gary Chapman in 1995. Now, what this book does, this doctor had been working for about 12 years as a marriage therapist, and he was basically finding a common theme among couples as to how it is that their miscommunications in relationships wore them down because they didn't know how to appropriately respond to them. And so what he did was cultivate all of his notes and all of his learnings over the course of a decade plus and group them into 5 different categories. And what those categories are words of affirmation, physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time, and acts of service. Now we'll go through what those mean, but the purpose of tonight is to basically help you understand what your love language is and perhaps what your partner's love language is, and see whether or not there's any disconnect with how it is that you all are communicating, and figure out if there are ways to help you improve upon that. So just understand that everybody's different and our personalities help to drive some of these things. Our background and our upbringing helps to drive some of these things. And even the fact that one relationship type is one way, and so our needs in one relationship can actually be different from our needs in another relationship. So this is very fluid. And you'll notice that at the end, I'll point you to a site where you can take a test. And if you are in a relationship, whether you're in a relationship or not, it's something that you need to pay attention to. So I'll point you to a site where you can take your love languages and understand how to figure out what your love language is. So give me 1 second. I think I'm doing something. Okay. Yeah, I just had to switch the view for a second. I don't know why I try to go technical. Oh no. All right, there we go. I blew up my screen too big. Okay, so words of affirmation. What words of affirmation is that sometimes actions don't speak louder than words. And this is, so let me preface this by saying that of the 5 love languages, we all like some aspect of it, but then we have something that dominates more than the other. So what you'll see is that words of affirmation are saying that, gosh, you look beautiful. Or, you know what, you are the best help ever. Like, I could not live without you. Do you know how much I appreciate you? Having all of those words come out of your mouth, they are that verbal affirmation, those verbal compliments, those verbal context and notes that a person needs to feel loved and feel admired. So those are words of affirmation. Now, what you have to understand is that those people who thrive on words of affirmation, anything less than that, whether it sounds like some kind of derogatory remark or whether it's a insult or something that to that effect that kind of gives people heartburn, you know, that strikes them deeper than it would somebody who is a acts of service person like myself. So, you know, your words for me are less important than your actions. For this person, your words are everything to them. So be mindful of what the words mean to a person. You have to acknowledge how important words are to you. I will say that when you're dealing with a person that is a words of affirmation love language, they much better appreciate you being specific rather than general. And I'll give you an example. If your wife comes in and you see her and you're like, oh, babe, you look nice, she would like to hear that. If you said, oh, babe, you look nice, you got your hair cut today and you bought a new suit. Now you're being observant. You're paying attention to her specifically, and you're pointing out that you see where it is that she's made a change, and on top of that, complimenting her on the changes that she's made. So it's nice to be general. It's nicer to be specific. So be observant where you can and compliment on the things that you know will get the extra boost. You're trying to, as they said in the book, The 5 Love Languages, fill the tank. You fill the tank, you get the love tank all full, and then you'll be good for a while. Let's see. The next one that we're going to talk about is physical touch. Now, physical touch, so touch by itself has different levels. So in my coursework, we talk about the touch continuum, which has 5 different levels in it. But when you have a physical touch person, they are touchy. You know, they hug a lot, they rub your arm, they pat you, they want to hold hands, you know, they rub your face, even to the point where if you're sitting side by side with a person, you know, they're laid up on you, they got their feet on, they're just constantly in contact with you. That is a physical touch person. Now, that has to be acceptable. So let's say in a work situation, you have a person who's a physical touch person. Now, in this context, we're talking about in a relationship, you know, where certain activities are permissible. That don't fly at work or someplace where you haven't been given consent to touch. And even in relationships, consent to touch is fluctuating depending on what kind of mood y'all may be in at the time. So just remember that the touch has to be warranted. It has to be desired in a way. So this is where the touch continuum can kind of fall into play. Now, miscommunication in touch means that, for instance, if you walk in, the wife is home, she's cooking, she's tired, she's just trying to get everybody ready so we can go to bed. Husband comes in and, he's been out for a little bit, he's had a couple drinks, he's ready, he's all worked up. Now, this is where you have this dynamic of one person is already halfway warmed up, preheated, let's call it. You got somebody else, the oven is still cold. Now, if the preheated person comes in and smacks the cold person on the ass, they're going to say, cold person is going to look like, what's going on? You see I'm in here doing something, right? And then the warm person be like, what? I was just saying hello. So she already know that his hello means something a little bit different. And she already like, or he's like, damn, I ain't even do nothing. So that whole exchange is a misinterpretation in touch. So she thinking one thing, he thinking something else. It could be a complete misinterpretation, but it's how you kind of accept it and how you deal with it. So be mindful of the touch continuum, and I'm going to walk you through the phases of it. The first phase is healing. And this is for everybody. This is gradually leading up to intimacy. So this is for everybody. Healing touch, like, give me a hug. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. Give me a hug. Or I'm sorry you feel sad. Give me a hug. That is a healing touch. Affectionate is oh, hey, how are you doing? I rub you, kiss, or a pat, something just very gentle. Then you start getting into sensual. So sensual is, massage, kiss, where you're doing tongue kissing, but everybody still got their clothes on. So sensual is still passionate leading up to the next two phases. So we're at 3 right now. So far we have healing, affectionate, and sensual. The next one is erotic. Now, erotic might mean like, you might think it's the tip, but it's not the tip. It's the precursors, the pre-tip. So with the pre-tip, you have to say, okay, hey, Linda. So with the pre-tip of the touch continuum, you're at erotic. Now, I'm sure many of you don't do this anymore, but remember back in the day where you were bumping and grinding and touching and all that, you still had your clothes on, you was getting all hot and heavy, y'all weren't naked, there was no penetrative sex, it kind of led, the clothes could have come off, but you weren't yet having intercourse, or you weren't having oral sex. That is the erotic stage of it. The final piece is the sexual piece. Sexual is, of course, intercourse, it's oral sex, it's anal sex. It's a dress, actually. But yes, thank you. When I get new kinky shirts is when I'll do something different. But for now, I'm just gonna wear the regular clothes. Yes. So, and I preface this because I think I said this last week. I can't remember, but oral sex and anal sex are sex, just as important as vaginal intercourse. Because, and I say this for, again, folks that know young adults and kids, a lot of kids think that they are maintaining their virginity by not having penetrative vaginal sex. Technicality, you're having sex. It is sex, it is sex, it is sex. So please inform our young people. I'm gonna do my best to inform the young people. All right. So when you have miscommunications in sex, it can lead to miscommunications in touch, it can lead to a lot of issues. So you have times where, like with the example that I gave you before, where you get the touch and it's misinterpreted. But if you have somebody who needs touch and they don't get it, then that's what's going to be the question. Like, well, he used to come in and pat me on my butt all the time, and now he doesn't. Or I used to get a kiss every morning, and now he doesn't. Or I used to get I don't know. I was skipping to another one, but touch. If I used to get a blowjob every morning, and now she don't want to touch me no more. There are questions or things that happen where you're like, this touch used to happen all the time, and now it's changed. And why doesn't this touch happen anymore? So now you start to question yourself, you start to question your relationship, and just be mindful. And this is why you have to learn your love language. Is it touch? Are you a touchy person? Do you need to have constant contact? If it is, then you need to make sure that your partner is aware of that so that they are feeding into your love language and you're accommodating to you. Hey, Janet, thanks for joining. All right, so we've gone through 2 words of affirmation and physical touch. So we are moving on to receiving gifts. Now, I'll tell you something at the end, but right now receiving gifts is not intended to be like a materialistic view of, oh, buy me this, buy me this, buy me this. No, this is a person who appreciates tokens, physical tokens of your love and admiration for them. So a gift could be as simple as a Post-it note left in your lunchbox, or a note on the mirror that says, just thinking about you, I love you. It could be a card. It could be jewelry, but I'll give you a better example. So I'm a gift giver. I get excited about, the typical ones are Christmas, birthdays, Mother's, Father's Day, Valentine's Day. Those are days where you expect to get some type of gift. There's a baseline expectation that if this one of these days, somebody's going to give me something. But, we can talk about Valentine's Day another day. I have a friend who has a whole another viewpoint in that Valentine's Day, Christmas sometimes is commercialized. And if I give you something every 364 days of the year and I skip Valentine's Day on principle, are you going to be mad? And some women would be like, yes. Other women would be like, no. This is where we're talking about the receiving gifts. If I go out and I say, you know what, babe, I need some more makeup. I need to go to MAC and get my foundation, but I just haven't had time to do it. I'm going to get to it this weekend. Just remind me. And next thing you know, when you wake up the next day or two, you got a little MAC makeup case on your pillow and it's your right color, and you might even have a little slip. Oh, babe, thank you. So that is a gift of, oh, I'm paying attention to you. I know what you need. It's actually a combination of 2 things. And we haven't talked about acts of service yet, but it's an act of service that results in a gift. The best gifts are thoughtful. It's like if my favorite color is blue and you happen to see this blue thing out and you think I would like it, oh, I'm gonna pick it up and bring it home because I know she'll like it. Those things are gifts of receiving gifts and how you find affection and affirmation in those. It's not intended to be, oh, this is on sale. Let me go grab this real quick. Or I had a girlfriend years ago. It was Valentine's Day, and her husband came home with Shoppers Food Warehouse flowers and some candy. And we knew it was Shoppers Food Warehouse because he left a little tag on with the price tag and it said Shoppers. And although she received a gift, it's not like he didn't get flowers and candy. It was the fact that he put no thought into it. He came home, or he stopped at the nearest grocery store on his way to the house so he wouldn't walk in empty-handed, and gave her flowers and candy. It wasn't received well. Although she received the gift, it was unthoughtful. So just keep those things in mind when you're thinking about the type of person that you are, as well as the type of person that you may be dealing with if they are a person whose love language is receiving gifts. Let's see, quality time. Now, based on the things that I was reading, quality time is considered staring at each other, no distractions, just talking and being together. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, because quality, by definition, is the degree of excellence of something, right? So it's up to you to define the degree of excellence for whatever time that you're spending. So if, everybody works a long day, you got to come home. So my life, get up, we get our life together in the morning, we go leave, we get the kid to school, we go to work. In the evenings, either Bailey's doing something, I'm doing something, he's doing something, and we come home, we eating, we trying to get life together again. People got to go to bed. I got to do stuff like this where I'm trying to do this, people working. And then we don't necessarily always have quality time. So quality time is one time that is purposeful. There is something called the Wheel of Life. And if you look up the Wheel of Life, and there are different variations of it, the Wheel of Life is all the crap that we have to do. Everybody in this world, from President Obama, Michelle Obama, to the homeless man on the street, had the same 24 hours in a day. It's what we do with those 24 hours that makes the difference, right? So, for instance, there are days where I grind. I'm doing research. I'm writing blogs. I'm trying to manage Instagram, which has 3,000 followers, 3,000 plus followers, by the way. So yay for that. I'm doing all of these things, and I'm trying to, hey, Nicole, you out of school? How was class? Tell me about it. So, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. So how do we manage our time? And so when you look at the Wheel of Life, it has all of these things. You take these 24 hours and you chunk them around all the things you have to do, whether it's your personal development, finance, fun and recreation, your contributions to society, your spirituality, your relationships, your health and fitness, your self-image, your career, your environment. And, the most important thing to me is your sex life. Like all of these things have to be exposed into these hours. And so here it is where you're like, okay, how do I actually spend quality time with the person that I am in a relationship with? So, they said not a Netflix and chill type of situation, but to me, that could be quality time. To be on a couch, maybe you got a touchy lover, I was going to say, but a partner that is, touchy, and y'all are sitting on the couch, and y'all's quality time is watching, I just started watching Sons of Anarchy, so I'm so late, but Sons of Anarchy, and you sit there and you're watching and you're like, oh, Jax did this and his mama crazy, and I can't believe. That's quality time, because now you're sharing a time and an experience and a moment with the person that you're with. You're having conversations, you're laughing, you're learning, you're doing all kinds of things. That is time, quality time spent with the person that you are sharing your time with. And quality time it has to be managed, just not for your life partner, but with your family, with your friends. That Wheel of Life, it needs to be managed. That's a whole separate conversation. So if we need to talk about that, we can, but just be mindful that quality time is what you make of it. Make it purposeful. Don't give them half-assed. Oh yeah, baby, I got about 30 minutes, and even if that is the case, make sure that those 30 minutes are dedicated to the person that you're with. That is the point. Undivided time to that person, regardless of what it is that you do in the space and time that you're with. Hopefully it's have sex, which leads back to that touch, the sexual touch. All right, sorry, I digress. Okay, so this is the fun one because, it's fun for me because this is the person that I am. Acts of service. Now, because I am one of those people, just like you all, that have all of these things going on in life. If there is a thing that can be done so that I don't have to do it, so that it makes my life easier, and especially if I don't have to ask for it to be done, or I conceive. Let's say if I do have to ask for it to be done, and it gets done without me having to say, hey, remember that thing I asked you to do? Or, hey, remember that thing I asked you to do? If that gets done, oh, that is like the best thing to me. It's like, and it's somebody doing it not because they have to, not out of obligation. Like, oh, here she go. She asking me for something. No, no, you love me. You want to help me. You want to be there for me because I want to be there for you. If your love language is physical touch, and I know that, then I'm going to respond to you in the way that you want me to respond to you. But if my love language is acts of service, then that means if I say, I want to cook dinner tonight, the kitchen needs to be clean, and I come downstairs and the kitchen is clean. Damn it, boy, I love you. Do you understand? It's little shit like that. It's like, for me, and I'm speaking, and people who are like me will likely understand where that's coming from, you know? Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that I am keeping up with the sideboard. So yes, so those are acts of service, and they are ways of expressing love. It's, excuse me, like I said, cooking a meal, or in my case, making sure you eat. That shows you I love you because I didn't let you starve that night. Like washing dishes, massages, anything where you can anticipate the needs of another person and be like, you know what, let me do this for her, or let me do this for him because I know she needs it. And, you know, some of the examples that they gave were cutting the grass and keeping the car running. And it's like, you know, some of those roles, I guess they just wanted to say it's not intended to be gender biased or role based or anything like that, but you know, whatever it is that you do. So if you're the cook of the family, making sure dinner is ready, and that's not something that the other person really has to worry about, you know, make that happen. If you're the person that runs the errands and make those things happen. And you do them because you know that it's a help to the other person that you're with. So just keep those things in mind. It's a lessen the burden type of thing. And you should want to do it. All right. So let's wrap up for the evening. So we're going to recall the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, and words of affirmation are just nice and positive things that you say to another person that you're with. Be more specific than general whenever you can. Physical touch. There's a touch continuum that goes from healing to affectionate to sensual to erotic to sexual. So there are phases, and you have to know those phases and what is appropriate at what specific time. So know those things, the touch continuum. Receiving gifts. This particular love language is not intended to speak to materialism. It's intended to speak to receiving tokens of appreciation, where those tokens reflect your love and appreciation for the person you're with. So not just giving something, but giving something that reflects that you're knowing your relationship, your presence with the person that you're giving it to, so that they know that this person really knows me. They knew I needed this, or they knew I had this much perfume left and they went and got it for me. So those are things, those gift giving. Quality time. So regardless of how much time you have, first of all, it has to be purposeful. You have to make time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. Be mindful of the time spent, regardless of what you do with that time. Make it so that it is valuable and that it is enjoyable, so that when the next time you do get the opportunity to spend time together, you're kind of just picking up where you left off. And then again, my favorite, acts of service. Do things that lessen the burden to the person that you are with. If there is a task that can be done, a promise that can be kept. So for instance, there are a broken promise to an acts of service person is heartbreaking. It's like, why? Why couldn't you just do what you said you were going to do? Keeping your word, doing something that you say you were supposed to do is one of the biggest things. So just keep that in mind if you're an acts of service person. So I took the test, and I'm going to give you the website in a second. My test results, the highest score that you can receive in a category is 12. And so it gives you the 5 love languages in ascending order. So 11, a score of 11, I got acts of service. The highest score I said you can get is 12. Quality time and words of affirmation tied for, I guess, second with a score of 6. Receiving gifts was 4. Personal touch is 3. Getting some. So all of them are equally important. Don't discount any love language, even if it ranks low. So for instance, although personal touch is the lowest on my list, I am obviously a sex coach. So personal touch is very important to me, but I don't have to sit up on you when we're laying on the couch. If you got a hook and I got a hook and our feet can kind of touch every now and again, I'm good. I don't have to be all laid up on you. So it's just where your level of comfort is. So the site that I want to send you guys to, before I do that, the gift giving, like all of these love languages are acts of giving. It's giving of yourself. You have to be cognizant. One, be mindful of who you are and the type of love language you speak. And this has been out for what, 30, no, I'm not gonna say 30 because I've only been in high school, 20 some odd years, because I graduated in 96. So 20 some odd years, this concept has been out. And a lot of people have been able to relate to it. So don't dismiss it as another thing. Just be willing to go and take a look at it and honestly assess yourself based on what you know about yourself and what you know about your partner. If you have a partner, take the test together, and then the challenge. So here's the challenge. Do a baseline. So I have, you can Google it, or watch the video again if you missed it from the beginning, and look through the love languages and kind of see from just these descriptions what you identify as, and try with your partner to rank them based off of what you think your partner's love language is. And you can even separate it, do yours and your partner's, make it extra fancy. So when you do the challenge, after you get your baseline, then go in and take the quiz. The quiz is found at www.5lovelanguages.com. And so this is the test that I took that gave me the ranking order that I received. And once you get your actual results, see how close you were. Were you exactly right? Were you close, or were you completely off base with what your partner's love language is? And then from there, actually go through and see where the miscommunications may be. You know, you might not have any. You guys might be completely in tune. And if that is the case, more power to you. I wish there were more people like you. I honestly do. But if there are any instances where you're having any type of disconnect, start to talk about how it is that you can understand each other's love languages and things that you can do to help facilitate conversations and dialogue, and perhaps even touch that speak to the other person's love language. It's both of you being mindful of each other and keeping that present in your head at all times. You have to keep presence. It has to stay with you. Otherwise, it's just going to turn back into the same old shit that you're doing now. So there's that. All right. So if ever you need any help with any of this, you know how to reach me. I am Shanae Jones, your kinky sex coach, and I will see you next Thursday. Thank you guys for joining.